Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and welcome to the Hertford Astronomy Annual General Meeting. Could I ask, first of all, could I ask you all to mute your microphones, and then we won't get any unexpected interruptions. You may find putting it onto speaker view will be useful if you haven't. And I was going to suggest, well, I will suggest that if you have any questions, you can send them through the chat button at the bottom. But as there are so few of us, I'm pretty sure that we'll be able to handle them live as well. So whichever way you prefer, that's fine. We will be recording the program and publishing it on YouTube for everybody who's missed it. So we should get quite a lot of people looking at it. Agendas and minutes of last year's meeting have been circulated, and I hope you've had an opportunity to have a look through them. So apologies for absence. We did receive one which I forwarded to Simon, and that then takes us on to receive and approve the minutes of the 12th annual general meeting, which we had last year on the 27th of May. So I'm sure you've all read them through and you can remember the meeting word for word. Are there any issues arising from the minutes, any inaccuracies that you recall, or any amendments that anyone wants to suggest? Feel free to unmute and say something if you want to. Greeted by a stony silence, which I will take to mean that everybody is happy with them and we can approve them. So matters arising from the minutes, again, I don't think there's anything there unless anyone wants to. I'll give you a few seconds if you want to say something. Fantastic. That takes us on to the chairman's report for this year. I'm going to try a bit of screen sharing. So that's the one, but it's not on the right slide. Slideshow from the beginning. Oh, fantastic. So a year like no other. The year's meetings moved to the cloud-based video conference service of Zoom. And this has enabled us to continue to present high-quality speakers throughout the year. One of the advantages of Zoom has been that it has enabled participants from further afield to join in our meetings. It's also enabled us to have speakers from the other side of the Atlantic to give us presentations. Many of the speakers have given permission for their presentations to be recorded and published on YouTube, thus enabling people to view the meetings who might not have been able to come to the live event. We have had a full year of talks covering a wide range of subjects, which we are sure you have enjoyed. Our main activities have been our monthly meetings, held as usual on the second Wednesday of each month from September through to June, or as in last year's case, even through to July. The problems this year have meant that we've been unable to make outreach visits, such as we've done in other years. We've continued to maintain our strong links with the University of Hertfordshire and been in regular contact with Dr. Ben Birmingham and Nuala O'Flynn at Bayfordbury. Nuala informs us that they are hoping to reinstate the open evenings at Bayfordbury in October. We haven't made any advance with the project to establish our own observatory at the university, as they've had other understandable priorities to be dealing with. But the university is still aware of the concept, though. Sadly, the Institute of Physics talks arranged by Diane Cran and Alan Davis were not able to go ahead. So we look forward to their return, hopefully in the next academic year. So we're now going to talk about the programme, and to do that, I'm going to pass over to Jerry. And Jerry, if you'd like to take the screen, and I'll mute myself.
Right, I'm not going to share a screen. I didn't think it really needed me to prepare a big presentation of this. Most of you know what we did this year, but for anyone who passed out during any of the meetings, let me just give a quick run through. We started off as per tradition with our honorary president, Roger O'Brien, who gave us a preview of the James Webb Space Telescope, which is due still to be launched on October 31st this year. So that's our Halloween present. As far as I'm aware, that date is still on. Robin Scagel, many of you would know, then took us way, way back in the past to tell us about the astronomer Tycho Brahe, perhaps the greatest pre-telescope astronomer. Then Jane Clark showed us how you too could measure planetary orbits. How many of you did that? Come on, let's see those hands. Yeah, that's what I thought. Never mind. Then in December, Richard Hollingham from Space Boffins told us all kinds of things about space dogs. And then in the new year, Paul Daniels, the president of the Federation of Astronomical Societies, gave a talk which he's been doing quite a lot recently, which is about the mega constellation threat. I still don't understand how these things got approved to blight the night sky and potentially ruin some major multi-million-pound telescopes. But there we go. And then in February, we were able to team up again with the University of Hertfordshire, something that I'd suggested ages back, that we should see about getting some students from the university to tell us about their work. And they were really pleased that we approached them with this. And we actually had 5 people volunteer to do that. So in February, we had 4 of them, each giving a short presentation on various parts of their work. Then in March, not long after Perseverance had touched down on Mars, we really got a scoop. The head of NASA's Mars exploration program, George Tahu, gave us a fantastic run through of the program and what they were doing, and indeed what they had already achieved in just the early days. India has also arrived at Mars, and just recently, you may have seen in the news that the Chinese lander has touched down. They'd been in orbit for a couple of months, searching out the final place that they were going to choose for its landing. So Mars is pretty busy at the moment. And I should mention that my granddaughter is there as well, because I registered her with Perseverance. So her name is on the lander. She's the only person in her school whose name is on Mars. Then in April, we celebrated the diamond anniversary of the first man in space. And so I gave a rundown for some information, for others, well, perhaps a bit of a reminder. I wasn't quite old enough to fully appreciate what was going on at the time, because I was only 5 years old. No, 6 actually. But it is quite amazing looking back at what was achieved back then. Then, I was going to say last meeting, this month, we had the 5th person from University of Hertfordshire, Chris Lovell, because when he submitted what he wanted to talk about, I thought, no, we need more than 20 minutes for this. He really quite thrilled us with his exploits of how to build a universe, telling us about simulating galaxy, not just galaxy formation, but multiple galaxies, indeed a whole universe. Amazing what you can do with computers, isn't it? So that just leaves one more to come. Next month, I'm delighted that we will be welcoming Lucy Green. Her main subject is solar physics, and apart from wanting to get her for quite some time, there's a special reason. That is, this meeting is going to be on the 9th of June, and it is the day before we have a very nice partial eclipse of the sun. So out with your eclipse glasses, folks. Brush off your solar scopes. I don't need to tell Steve to do that because his is going all the time. And so
my camera arrived today for that very event.
Marvelous. Well, we look forward to that. Are you going to be streaming it live?
Well, I can do actually. Yeah.
It's the right answer. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, that's actually quite a good idea. I mean, the only thing is it kind of detracts from what I want to do with the photography. So, you know, if I'm streaming it live, then, but yeah.
Well,
I mean,
okay. Well, how about afterwards, if the two of us have a chat and let's see what we can do. Okay. Yeah. Marvelous. So, as always, I try to put together a wide range of subjects and get some pretty good speakers. I think we've achieved that this year. I'd like to thank everyone who has tuned in to watch our meetings, and hopefully we may be able to do a bit more next year if things go well with the university. I'll leave Alan to say more on that, but we have talked about this, and we've decided that even if we are able to meet in person, we will still put the meetings out on Zoom so that those who find it a little perhaps difficult to attend the meetings in person, Frank, will still be able to watch. So next season will start in September again with Roger O'Brien, and we will find out what he has for us. But I can tell you that the October meeting, October the 13th, we are going to have Russell Parry talking about the Apley Bridge meteorite, which was a meteorite that fell in the north of Britain. And as it so happens, this will be directly on the anniversary of that event. So when he was talking to us, to me about perhaps coming to give a talk, and I thought I recognized the date, and I asked him to confirm it. I said, right, well, that is the day of our October meeting, so it has to be then. I have some ideas for other speakers, other topics. If anybody would like to make any suggestions to me, please do. Yes, Steve.
Can I make a suggestion? A
Please.
friend of mine, her brother is a chap called Professor Brand Fortner. He's based in the West Coast of America, and he is a it's a long story, but I've joined a 28-day astronomy program which has been run by Denise, and he's one of the speakers. He gives a speaker once, every other day, basically. He is a fantastic communicator, and I emailed him and he said, well, I'll read it. I would love to do a presentation. The ones I've done at Duke, which is his university in the last few years, include Fermi paradox, solar system colonization, 21st century astronomy, Pluto. We don't need another Pluto one. EHT, LIGO, kilonova, solar superstorms, neo-risks, exoplanets. I mean, it's got a long list of stuff, and he can talk about any of it. And he's a very good, easy to understand lecturer. So I can recommend him.
Marvelous.
But it would have to be a Zoom one, obviously, because
yes, of course. But sorry, where did he say he was? West Coast
of America. So
okay. So we're talking about perhaps a 8-10 hour time difference.
No, that's a good question, because there's sometimes
that's okay, because
on the East Coast.
I had someone
all his lectures are at a reasonable time, so in the evening for us. So yeah. I'm sure he'll be able to do it.
Oh, that's okay. It'll be a sort of perhaps a late afternoon for him.
Yeah, I think he'll be all right. But look him
up.
But
let me have the details, then I shall definitely get in touch.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks very much. And again, anyone else wants to suggest someone? It doesn't have to be anyone that you know in any detail. Just say, oh, do you think you could get hold of so and so? And I'll see what I can do. Okay. Any questions from anyone?
Thanks very much, Jerry. Excellent programs throughout the year. Really enjoyed your talk as well.
Thanks.
Okay, then let's move on. Just before we do that, after last year's AGM, there were a few more meetings which got slipped in. We normally finish around about June, but last year we had Mary McIntyre come along and share her favourite photographs, or some of her favourite photographs, with us. And I thought it was really good, because she showed how it was the composition of the pictures was more important than the cost of the equipment. And so you could take really good photographs with quite modest stuff. That was one of the extras. And then if that wasn't enough, Ben Birmingham from the university, he also gave an extra talk about all the extra exoplanets that have been discovered. That was a bonus one. And if that wasn't enough, there was even another meeting by Nick Shemanek, so telling us about remote controlled observations. So we got a few extras there. And I'd like to thank, I think that was through Haggas that we got Mary and Nick. So thank you very much indeed for getting them sorted too. Okay, moving on then. We are going to talk a little bit about Haggas. For that, I'm going to pass you over to Martin. So over to you, Martin.
Thanks, Alan. Yeah, as you mentioned, we had Mary McIntyre, which I believe Dennis organised. Is that right, Steve? I think it was Dennis organised that. So thanks to, well, Dennis no longer with us, but it was a brilliant talk, and I felt it gave an opportunity for those with little or not much experience in astrophotography a good insight to it. I think that sometimes us in HAGAS tend to forget. We tend to get so involved in the technical details that we're dealing with that you know, the beginning areas are quite important as well. So I think that went down very well. And even Nick's talk, although it was aimed at more advanced techniques, it was still, I think, interesting. I know a few people in the club actually took the opportunity to log on and try that out. So the remote telescope, he gave us a talk in July about the remote telescope facilities that she's working with at the moment. So yeah, we're very pleased with that. Unfortunately, due to the lockdown, we've not been able to have our HAGAS meetings that we used to have over in the Stanborough Club in Hoddesdon. We're looking forward to, once lockdown finishes, to restarting those again if we can. It's quite nice for us to get together sometimes, and anybody's welcome. Anybody who's a member of HAG is welcome to come to those meetings, but they are specifically designed more around astrophotography than just general subjects. So the other thing is that I'm trying to encourage people to have a look at our website. We've got a photographic section website, which gets a lot of images put up from various members of HAGAS, and I mean, it doesn't have to be just HAGAS members. Anybody can put images up onto that website, and I think the level of the photographs, the images have gone up, have just improved fantastically. In fact, I've been using some of Steve's images that he's been taking in part of my talks on the night sky because they've been so good, and a few of my own attempts as well. So just to try and bring them into the general focus of everybody. I would hate to think that everybody felt it was a separate entity, because it isn't. It's a part of the club, and it's an important part of the club. But maybe in the future, it'd be nice to try and bring the two closer together, have a bit more stuff on the website, or links to our Facebook page. And because you say when there's a clear sky, you can guarantee that there'll be images going up on that almost immediately. Apart from that, we're looking forward to the shutdown closing so that we can get together again and start doing some imaging again, and maybe some tuition to people who want to start. Maybe we can set up some sessions to give people an idea how they can do imaging themselves. So I'll pass back to Alan.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. I really admire how you change those little bits of misty fuzz in the sky into really dramatic looking images. It's absolutely fantastic. Did anyone get through to Tony, by the way? No. Okay. Going back, we come to membership. And this was part of the report which Tony sent through. Quite healthy. And basically, this gives a little bit of comparison between this year and the previous year. So 87 fully paid up members, down from 125, 9 committee members fully paid up, down from 11, 20 junior members, etc., etc. I'll let you read them through. If you want to skip the reading, the bottom line says it really. Total registered membership of 239, down from 250. Well, quite frankly, with a year like we've had, I think to only be 11 people down, I think that's absolutely brilliant. Does mean, of course, that when we do get back to normal, whatever normal is going to look like, it's still important to maintain the recruitment part. Does anybody have any questions they want to ask about membership? I'll try to answer them if I can. We can also forward them on to Tony if they are beyond my wit. Any questions there? Excellent. I take the silence as meaning you're all perfectly happy with it, or you don't understand it either. So we now move on to the equipment section. So over to you, Steve.
Yeah, again, not a lot to say, really. First thing is as I mentioned, I've just bought a new camera, which is a planetary solar lunar camera, which means that my old camera, which is a high-speed camera, is spare, and I'm going to donate that to the to HAG again, as with the other two. So it'd be nice if they get used, really. So the two main telescopes we've got is the Meade LX200, which was donated to us. It's now going to Richard Shepherd to have a look at, because we've never quite got it working correctly. So with any luck, he'll be able to get it working. The other thing is that we were recently donated a Celestron 127 Mac telescope, which is a great little telescope. Unfortunately, the mount, the Altaz mount, doesn't work properly, so we're looking at replacing that, which is probably not going to cost too much money. But I think we've decided that it'd be a good idea to get that fixed up. So yeah, we'll have two good telescopes in the club for for loan. That's it, really.
Okay, well, thank you very much indeed, Steve, for managing the equipment that we've got. Does anyone have any questions they'd like to ask Steve?
How do you have an Altaz mount that doesn't work? I mean,
well, it's a go-to mount. So
okay, that explains it.
Yeah, it is a go-to mount, but it's an Altaz mount.
Yeah. All right. Fine.
Good question, that one. Any other questions about the equipment? Okay, let's move on then. Finances, well, Anne's got her own spot in a moment, so we're going to, I won't talk about anything there. And we now move on just a little bit about administration. So computer, there we go. I wanted to draw attention to other members in our club, who, committee members. We've got Simon there, who's the secretary to our group. He prepares the agendas and minutes for our committee members and distributes them as necessary. Simon also deals with other correspondence that's not covered elsewhere. We're indebted to him for keeping us on the right track throughout the year. We also say a special thanks to Terry Creasy, who has volunteered to take the minutes when Simon is unable to be present at meetings. Other members there, we've got Leon. Leon is our representative for the Federation of Astronomical Societies, and he keeps in touch with them and their activities, and we post them on Facebook. Terry's responsible for the Sky Notes, which we pop onto the website each month. It's really good how he focuses in on either constellation or some special events there. I think that's something always very good to keep an eye on. Danny, he's a real good support to the group. I'm sorry, Danny, I couldn't find the photograph to pop on there. I did a search on the internet, but you're one of these people who are blind to the internet, so congratulations on there. But certainly do want to say thank you to Danny and all the other committee members who work tirelessly, often unseen in the background, but they do make things possible and make things run smoothly. Venue. Well, we mentioned last year that we would be moving, hopefully, to a different location once our meetings restart. And it's worth repeating it because I know there are still some members who are unaware that we were planning this. Because of our special relationship with the university, Ben Birmingham has informed us that we should be able to use some of the facilities at the College Road site in Hertford for our meetings. We initially are talking about the Lindop building. This is the building where the IOP talks are held. That's likely to be the venue. We estimate that the Lindop building has accommodation for about 250 people, which should see the club pretty secure for a while. It has excellent AV facilities and a good meeting area, and there's plenty of free car parking. The downside is that the observing facilities are not good there, but there are some other areas that we might be able to use, but that needs exploring. Refreshments should be available at the coffee bar, which is about 5 minutes walk from the Lindop building. Again, we need to check opening times to make sure that would fit in. Finer details will need to be worked out as we get closer to meeting again, and we'll keep you informed. We have kept in touch with the university to say that yes, we're still interested in what the sort of timescales and procedures will be. They can't give us clear details at the moment, so it certainly looks for the future, for the next couple of meetings at least, that we will be on Zoom. It's a case of watch this space. During the year, we had another overseas visit from Argentina. You may remember some students that we were talking about who were keen on trying to bring astronomy to people who normally can't access it. We've got a picture of Thomas here. Thomas sent me this photograph last week with the telescope that he made, mainly using 3D printer parts, pieces of tube which you could buy at the plumbers. Obviously, things like the eyepieces and mirrors had to be bought in, but he didn't pay a lot for those. But he is absolutely thrilled to bits with it, and I think every right to be proud that he's actually made it and is getting it working. So I thought I'd update you with that to let you know that we are still in touch with Argentina and that their project is moving forward. So I ended last year's presentation by saying that I think we've probably covered about as far forward as we can crystal ball gaze into the future. And yes, it'll be lovely when we can all get back together again. And that was last year. And that still holds true this year. And finally, I'd like to thank all the members. Without the membership, without their support, the club wouldn't exist. Their attendance is very much appreciated, and the fact that our numbers are so strong can hopefully be interpreted as that we're doing something right. And here endeth the lesson. So I'll stop sharing there and come back and say, right, other than treasurers, accounts, etc., do we have any questions anyone wants to ask? We'll try our best to answer them. Go ahead, Francis. Frank.
Very sorry to say this, Alan, but is there any chance that you could turn up the volume of your microphone? I don't think the sound has travelled very well to Somerset, but I've heard everybody else's.
Right, I have, I'll talk a bit louder, but I have actually boosted it as far as I can. Can everybody else hear me, or have I been talking to myself?
You're better now than you were. I do apologise, but the thing is, it's been difficult.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm using the clip-on microphone up here to stop the echo. If I go over to the one on the camera, then it sounds like I'm in an echo chamber. But thanks for that. And
Where is it on your tie, Alan?
Sorry?
Where on your tie is the actual capsule? Oh, it's quite high up. Oh, right, yeah. All right.
Yeah, I don't know. Must be a characteristic. That's what Rover used to say whenever you took your car back, saying there's strange noises coming out of it. It was a characteristic, not a fault. Any questions?
Thank you anyway.
Okay. Any questions, anyone?
Lovely.
Okay. Right. So that now takes us over to Anne, who's going to talk to us about money. So over to you, Anne. Can you screen share okay?
There we go. And I was talking to myself as well. But can you see that? Can you hear me?
Yes, and yes.
Oh, good. Fine. Thanks for that, Alan. I love that expression. It's a characteristic. I'll have to remember that one. It was a bit like my husband went. We were out in a restaurant actually, and he'd ordered chocolate mousse for pudding, and it came, and it was basically just a big pool with a few lumpy bits in it. And he complained to the waitress, and she took it back to the kitchen, and then reappeared with the pool and said, "Chef says that's how they do chocolate mousse in Poland." So there you go. That's the way it is. Right, so talking us through the accounts this year won't take long because obviously it's been the simplest year ever. And hopefully on your screen you can just see the spreadsheet there, but I'm just going to talk you through the report I've done, which will be on the website eventually, I think. So as usual, I'll just go through income first. So starting with membership subscriptions. So you'll recall at the AGM back last year in May 2020, the membership agreed to keep the annual membership fee of £20 pro rata. And although the first COVID-19 lockdown was still underway, it was felt that we should continue to collect subs at the normal level, as we had no way of knowing when face-to-face meetings could resume, whether we would be able to keep our membership at a healthy level, or whether we would face higher costs due to needing to source a larger venue to support social distancing. Amazingly, despite not being able to hold meetings in person, 80 members elected to rejoin and pay fees by September 2020, with a few joining each month through to March 2021. And of those joining after the beginning of our 2020-21 season, many elected to pay the full £20 annual fee with no prorating, a fact I find very surprising but gratifying. So thanks to those of you who chose to donate to HAG in this way. And then I just need to say that owing to a mix-up on our HAG website, 6 members accidentally paid again at the beginning of 2021. And I have refunded those members because our year doesn't start till September. There were a couple of other people who seemed to overpay, and I have tried to contact them to offer a refund, but to no avail. However, it's not too late, and if they would like to come forward, I will reimburse them. So we finished the year with 105 members, which was on par with previous years. So quite amazing, I think, given the different presentation of or the different way that we've met this year. Looking at visitors, as we were unable to hold face-to-face meetings, we weren't able to collect any visitor fees. And so in the last 3 years, we have averaged 10 visitors a session. So we would have lost revenue of at least £350 this year through not being able to collect those visitor fees. Banking. We continue to bank with HSBC, who offer many services for free, such as the provision of a checkbook and standing orders. And your treasurer also uses internet banking and has the use of a business debit card when required. We recently had to repeat some checks to combat identity fraud and money laundering, which whiled away a dull evening or two for Tony and me and tested my IT skills somewhat. But as a result, I'm pleased to report that HSBC is happy for us to continue with the business account. And then other things to note, last year we had paid the View for a full session of 10 meetings. Actually, it was back in 2019. And as we were unable to use the premises in April, May and June, Alan was able to secure a refund of £195, which obviously went back into the coffers. Moving on to expenditure, Zoom. So unsurprisingly, given our very limited options, the vast majority of expenditure this year has been for Zoom fees. Alan has subscribed to Zoom and initially was charged a higher fee for more than 100 and fewer than 500 attendees, because we just didn't know how many we would get coming onto the screen each month. But as the months went on, this additional charge was not necessary. So our monthly fee has settled at £14.39. Speakers. As always, we've enjoyed a varied programme of speakers who have, well, nearly all of them have provided their talks for free. We only paid for 2 this year. Again, we do offer to pay, but and usually in previous years where we've not paid speakers, we have given them their expenses, usually of around about £20. We just give them as a standard rate to cover their travel and petrol, etc. And we usually give them some hospitality by way of a meal. And obviously this year, neither of those things came into play. So our lovely speakers have been pretty much just happy to give their services for free. Looking at the Federation of Astronomical Societies, the committee decided to join the FAS once more at a cost of £30 a year, as they offer a useful public service, a publicity service, as well as general useful information, and in particular enabled us to obtain public liability insurance at greatly reduced rates. And we took this insurance out with the FAS again during the year, which was £28. And the rates have stayed at these levels for over 8 years, actually. Moving on to the auditor. So we were unable to get the accounts audited last year. And unfortunately, the same is true for this year so far. Roger Clark volunteered at last year's AGM to act as auditor for this year's accounts again. And I hope that we will be able to meet so I can hand him the books. I would like to extend my grateful thanks to him and my fervent hope that the additional work will not be too onerous, given this was a very simple accounting year. So we end this period of accounts with a balance of £3,984.06, which is a huge £1,708.81 up on the year. So that's amazing, isn't it? That we've actually almost doubled our balance in the year, but then again, we've not had anything to spend it on. So looking ahead for subscriptions for 2021-22, given we've built up such a large balance and there's no point just having a balance just sitting there in our bank account, and we have no clear indication of whether we can or indeed want to resume meeting face-to-face, and when I mean want to resume meeting, you know, we probably want to find out how many of our members are happy to resume meeting before we actually do. So because we don't know that yet, we'd like to recommend that we reduce the annual membership fee this year to £10 pro rata for adults and continue to be free for a young person under 18 years of age. If we are able and want to start meeting in person again, we recommend that we retain the visitor fee at £3.50 per meeting. So just having a look at what the, just looking ahead to next year, if just 80 members rejoined this year like they did last year, then we would still get £800 income in this year, which would cover really the projected outgoings for 21-22. I was thinking if we do manage to go and actually hire a hall, I know we've talked about the Lindop building, that may or may not come off. Hopefully more will come off than won't, but I've just put some money in there as a sort of contingency really to say, so £240 in case we have to shell out for some hall hire, around £160 for any speakers that might ask for fees over the next year. our FAS and FAS membership and insurance at £58. I've just put a nominal fee, £100 for advertising we may want to do, and Zoom fees if we continue using Zoom. So you'll see that the outgoings that which is a bit of a guesstimate, obviously, will be under the income, even if we reduce the membership fee from 20 to 10. And we've got no reason to think that we won't have a good 80 of our membership to rejoin again. Okay. So, where am I? Let me see. I can't seem to get back, Alan. You are screen sharing. Stop sharing. There we go. I'm back now. So, are there any questions?
Well, more of a comment than a question. But to have gone through all that and to be able to recommend bringing the membership fee down like that and still be able to cover our expected expenses for next year is really quite something. And especially as Alan, hadn't the university suggested us being able to use the Lindop building at no charge? So that may be an extra £240 we'll have, but from the membership side, I will say that a society that can offer 10 meetings a year for £10 has got to be looked on as good value for money.
Yeah, it's quite amazing, isn't it? 10 quid. I mean, 20 quid is the feedback Tony gets time and time again from people when we challenge them and say, oh, you haven't paid pro rata, you've paid the full £20 for the full 10 meetings. And they said, well, it's good value, and here's the donation sort of thing, which is quite amazing, isn't it? But I think does reflect the value, you know, what we're able to, what everyone is able to pull out the bag. So that is great. But and £10 almost feels derisory, doesn't it? But then if we're not going to spend the money, there's really no point having it in the bank account. And I don't feel comfortable having money just sitting there, really.
Absolutely fine, that is, Anne. I think, you know, for the price of a few cups of coffee to get such terrific value through the year is fantastic. So thank you very much indeed for looking after the books.
Actually, I do have one question. I also have a business account. You know, my ears pricked up when you said this is a business account. Something I have just been notified of is that the bank is actually going to pay some interest on certain types of accounts or investments. I would imagine that the account itself doesn't pay interest.
It doesn't, no.
No, but I don't know whether it's worth looking into anything that might give us some income on the grounds that we have, well, a reasonable amount of money and we don't expect to spend it in the near future.
The base rate is 0.1%. They'll offer 0.02%. Be lucky to get £3 on £4,000 for a year.
I totally agree with you, Steve. I've seen figures like this, and the effort to get nothing is, you know, it's a lot of work to achieve. It'd be lovely if, I mean, having heard that inflation rates seem to have gone up over the last month, it'd be lovely to think that the banks might be able to push their rates up, but until the Bank of England moves, then I think we're all stuck in this position that savings don't gain anything.
Interest rates are very high if you want to borrow money, which is what I'm doing currently. You know, they don't pass on any of the Bank of England rates, and they're cleaning up with interest rates, which is kind of frustrating. But yeah, there's no money to be made on savings.
if a club was allowed to, I would suggest going to buy some premium bonds, but I don't think they're.
Yeah, Bitcoins.
I've had a few successes on that lately, actually, the premium bonds.
I've had more success with premium bonds than I have with bank interest. Okay, any other questions for Anne? No? Okay, well, again, thanks very much indeed, Anne, for guarding the coffers and that we're in such a healthy position. That takes us down to the appointment of officers and members of the management committee for 2021-22. As we have suggested in other years, first of all, to make it clear that all the current members of the committee have said that they're willing to continue the roles they're in. So if we could do this as a block proposal, is there somebody who would like to propose that we admit everybody in one go? Could I have somebody just wave a hand? Thank you, Terry. And could we have somebody to second it?
Roger's waving.
Thank you, Roger. Fantastic. I will formally ask hands up in favour that we do there, that they all get on. Any objections? Send on a postcard to. Okay. Thank you very much indeed for that. Nobody spotted the deliberate mistake on the agenda. There is no item 7, so we'll move on to item 8. The appointment of the honorary auditor for 2021-22. I believe, Anne, you have asked Roger if he's willing to accept, and Roger, if you'd like to wave and acknowledge that one. I need to get you on the screen.
He is.
Yep, okay, so we've got that one, which takes us down to item number 9, any other business. I don't think you need to type in the chat room. Anyone's got anything to say, unmute yourself and speak.
Okay. There was a proposal discussed relating to the committee, but as we're talking about bringing the membership fee down to £10, I don't think it needs any further discussion. I'm happy to pay. I'll just leave it at that.
Okay, thank you very much indeed for that. But one of the things we did say as a committee, that doing Zoom is actually a lot of hard work. There's an awful lot of background stuff goes on before meetings, during meetings, and after meetings. And we voted ourselves to say that for that work, that the committee members would have free membership. Anyone who has a problem with that, too bad. Okay, any other business anyone wants to bring up or questions?
I'm sorry, I think that should be item 7 on the agenda, probably.
Oh, you found a number 7. Go on then, Simon. Stun us with it.
Yeah. No, that's sorry. The exemption from fees, membership fees for the committee. We should have had an amendment to the rules to put that through. When Jerry mentioned it, I suddenly thought, oh bother, that I should have done something about that. And that was so I don't know whether you want to discuss that now or leave it for another time. But
let's do it now while the committee outnumbers anybody else. Okay, the proposal to the change in the rules is that members of the serving committee do not have to pay the membership fee. It's a sort of recompense, a thank you for all the hard work they put in. So
yes, I do beg your pardon. It should have there was a change to our rules, rule number 8.6, exactly as you've just quoted, really, in recognition of work and commitment involved. Serving members of the management committee shall be exempted from the requirement to pay the annual subscription. Can the word
optionally be put in there, perhaps? Because I mean,
yeah, okay.
I will still, obviously,
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, with the additional word of optionally put in there, so that committee members can choose to pay if they wish. Right, can we have
Yeah.
a proposer for it? Thank you, Roger. Seconder? Perhaps I haven't got everybody on the screen. Okay, yes. And all in favour? Any disagreements? Okay, fantastic. That looks like that's covered. So that was the missing item number 7.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, any other business? Frank?
If I may, Alan, just make one simple point.
Yes?
I think it is essential that HAG retains its local identity, and it is a public meeting with a fee. To go Zoom entirely puts you into anonymity, and you could perhaps pick up something similar elsewhere. It's an association of friends and common interest. Please continue to provide that locally.
Okay, thank you very much indeed.
All I can say. I've enjoyed my remote association still with my friends, and something I was certainly party to setting up in the first instance. I would just like to see it just disappearing off into the cloud.
Thank you very much indeed for that, Frank. It's certainly not our intention to stay on Zoom permanently, exclusively. What we would like to explore is if we can go live, when we go live again, is there a way that we can go live and Zoom so that we can cater for, like you were saying, the reality of all meeting up again, and also to be able to outreach to people like yourself and Argentina, etc., people who are unable perhaps to get to the meeting place. One of the additional hoped for advantages of moving to the university site was that we would enable younger people, students, to be able to come to our meetings. At the moment, I'm not quite sure whether that's a good idea, but when we do get through the wood and get back to reality, then it would be a good idea because we'll be on their doorstep and we'll be encouraging some of the younger people to come along and enjoy the fun and excitement and the benefits of experience that our club could offer. But certainly the intention is sometime to get back to live production.
I commend you. I think it's a people business, not a television production.
And I can tell you,
interestingly enough, the local society, which is Wells and Mendick, has probably picked up more members or visitors during lockdown, because in fact they have actually advertised in the local handouts and free sheets. I mean, Somerset's full of local papers and little magazines, and they're actually putting their name out. And in fairness, they've put out a couple or 3 very good presentations so far. But what they lack is people in attendance. So they're winning, but they're actually not making any money out of it. So they don't need to make any money, but the thing is, it's not a commercial proposition.
It'll be lovely when we can get back to Bayfordbury and their open evenings. And as I say, they've got it penciled in that they're going to be starting again in October. But of course, October is a few months away yet.
Well, good. Yeah. I mean, it's always been a local business. And, well, I'm the only one that's not.
Oh, for tonight, anyway.
For tonight, yeah. Anyway, it's lovely to see you all.
Well, it's lovely seeing you again,
Steve,
Frank.
on his fantastic pictures. That's all I can say, really. But I've enjoyed it enormously. Thank you.
Lovely. Any other business anyone wants to bring up? Okay, I will formally close the meeting now, just to say that it will be published on YouTube I don't think it will go viral, but if it does, then we'll put any donations towards the club. So I'll stop the recording, but
Well,
but we can carry on talking.
okay, just before you stop recording, I think we should express our thanks to you, Alan, for all of the work that you do to help the society and to support the rest of us and keep us all going. Thank you very much. We
Yeah.
do appreciate it.
Well, thank you very much indeed for that. I'd like to say it's always fun, but I think my nose might grow a little bit. No, it's very enjoyable. I wouldn't be doing it if I didn't get a great buzz out of doing it. And it's lovely to be able to work with such lovely people. So thank you to all of you as well. So I'll stop the recording now.